All right, so you send us this training session, this fireside chat with a real estate pro, Cameron Jansen. And your goal is to boost your efficiency. And not just speed, but real, smooth sailing efficiency. So what does that actually look like in real estate? Well, let's unpack some of Cameron's wisdom.
Yeah, Cameron really zeroes in on this idea that efficiency, it isn't about rushing, it's more about anticipating.
Yeah.
Anticipating what you're going to need and cutting down on all that back and forth, all that back and forth that can really slow things down. He says you have to have everything ready to go before you start marketing a property.
Yeah, he even shared a story, an anecdote about a potential buyer, actually, that slipped away
Hmm.
because of a 4-hour delay in getting them a viewing. And it really highlights that in this market, time is most definitely of the essence.
Absolutely. And that's why Cameron really stresses the need for a system, especially when it comes to the documents, all the documents that you need before listing a property. He actually breaks it down by property type, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay, so let's start with what he calls sectional title properties.
Hmm.
And for those who might not be familiar with that term, that's like condos or townhouses, the ones that are part of a homeowners association. So for these types of properties, what kind of documents does Cameron say are must-haves?
Well, he lists a few, starting with levy statements, and he emphasizes that, it's not just about knowing what the monthly fee is, it's about really understanding what that fee covers. Does it include water, sewage, maybe even special amenities? You need to know this stuff to advertise accurately and be transparent with buyers, right?
That makes total sense.
Hmm.
It's about selling that value, not just a number on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So what else is on Cameron's list?
He mentions complex rules. Those are the guidelines that govern the homeowners association. Having those on hand really protects you and the seller from any potential liability issues down the line. Then there are the financials, minutes from the last AGM, the annual general meeting, and the property's maintenance plan.
Okay, so for sectional titles, we're talking levy statements, we're talking complex rules, financials, AGM minutes, and a maintenance plan. It seems like a lot to juggle, but I'm guessing this is where the efficiency part comes in.
Exactly. Cameron's point is that having all of this organized up front, really saves you from scrambling later. Now, when it comes to freehold properties, those are the standalone homes that document list shifts a bit.
Okay, let's walk through that. What's at the top of the list for freeholds?
Well, the rates and taxes bill is a big one, but again, Cameron emphasizes the need to go deeper than just the total amount. You really need to break it down, like what portion covers the actual property taxes, what's for utilities, like garbage collection, are there any special surcharges? This level of detail really matters for accurate advertising.
Yeah, it's like you said, buyers are getting more and more savvy. They're going to have questions, and you need to be able to answer them confidently.
Right, and if you can't, you risk losing their trust. Cameron even told this story about losing a buyer because he couldn't immediately confirm if utilities were included in the advertised levies. It just really drives home the importance of being prepared.
So we've got the breakdown of that rates and taxes bill as essential for freehold properties. Anything else?
Approved building plans are another big one. Having those can be a huge time saver, especially when dealing with banks and mortgage approvals. If the bank needs to see approved plans before they'll issue a loan, and you don't have them readily available, it could potentially hold up the entire deal.
Okay, but let's say you're working with a seller who doesn't have those approved plans. What's Cameron's advice in that scenario?
He suggests this really clever tactic. Ask the seller who their preferred conveyancing attorney is. So the idea is that if the attorney knows they're likely to get the transfer work, they might be more willing to go the extra mile and pull a copy of those plans from the counsel just as a courtesy.
It's like you're leveraging relationships to really streamline the process for everyone.
Exactly. And it shows your commitment to making the transaction as smooth as possible. Cameron is all about those small but impactful actions.
So all this talk about documents has got me thinking, how do we even get all this paperwork organized in the first place? It seems like a logistical nightmare.
Well, that's where Cameron's real-world experience really shines. He has this super practical tip, even if it might sound a bit old school. He suggests keeping physical property folders for each listing, right in your car.
Hold on. Physical folders? In the age of digital? Everything. Is he serious?
He is, and here's why. You're on the go, meeting clients, doing viewings, and sometimes you just need to access information quickly. Having those physical folders ensures that you're never caught off guard, even if your tech fails or you're away from your computer.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in that. So we're talking separate folders for each property containing all those key documents that we've been discussing. Levy statements, rules, financials, the works.
Precisely. It might seem like a small detail, but it speaks volumes about your professionalism and preparedness. It tells your clients that you've got it together, which in turn builds trust and confidence.
So we're not just gathering documents, we're organizing them in a way that really empowers us to be efficient and responsive. This is starting to feel like a real game changer.
It is, and it lays the foundation for a smoother, more enjoyable experience for both you and your clients.
This is great stuff. We've covered a lot about the importance of being prepared and organized, with the right documents. But I'm curious, what other insights does Cameron have to share about efficiency in real estate?
Well, he goes beyond just having the documents. He talks about understanding them thoroughly. And he uses a great example of breaking down a rates and taxes bill to really illustrate this point. We'll get into that when we come back for part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive into real estate efficiency. In part 1, we covered Cameron Jansen's advice on those essential documents, the ones you need before listing a property.
Yeah, we talked about those levy statements, rates and taxes bills, those all-important building plans, and even Cameron's suggestion to keep those physical property folders in your car, for quick access.
But he didn't stop there. He went on to really emphasize the importance of truly understanding those documents, especially when it comes to accurately advertising a property.
Yeah, he really drilled down on the need for transparency with buyers about what's included in the advertised levies and rates.
And used a really interesting example to illustrate this point, breaking down a rates and taxes bill. So let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay, so he poses this scenario, right? Imagine a rates and taxes bill. It comes to, let's say, R$2,500. But when you break it down, R$1,800 of that is for the actual property taxes, R$400 is a surcharge, and R$300 is for refuse removal. So the question is, what amount should you actually be advertising?
Yeah, it's tempting to just slap that R$2,500 figure on the listing and call it a day. But Cameron argues that that could be misleading.
Exactly, because those surcharges and refuse removal fees, those are often considered utilities, not part of the core rates and taxes. So if you advertise the full R$2,500, you might be giving buyers the wrong impression.
So this is where that deeper understanding comes in. As agents, we need to be able to explain these nuances to both buyers and sellers.
Right. Cameron pointed out that buyers are becoming much more informed. They're starting to ask more detailed questions about these costs. And if you can't answer them confidently, you risk losing their trust and potentially the deal.
He even shared a personal story about losing a buyer because he couldn't immediately confirm if utilities were included in the advertised levies.
I know, that anecdote really hit home for me. It just shows how important it is to be prepared and to have a solid grasp of the financials. It's not enough to just have the documents. You need to know them inside and out.
And Cameron also brought up the fact that these inconsistencies in how agents advertise these costs, it can really create a lot of confusion in the market.
Oh, absolutely. You might see one agent advertising the full amount, while another only includes the core rates and taxes. It makes it so difficult for buyers to compare properties accurately.
So what's Cameron's solution to this problem?
Well, he encourages agents to set a standard for transparency.
Yeah.
Clearly outline what's included in the figures you're advertising, and be ready to answer any questions that buyers might have.
So this approach not only demonstrates professionalism, but it also shows that you're genuinely looking out for your client's best interest.
Absolutely.
So speaking of understanding documents, Cameron also reminded us about those all-important building plans for freehold properties. And he shared another story, this time about a colleague who sold a $6.5 million home where the plans hadn't been officially approved by the council.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a risky situation. What happened?
Well, even though the homeowner and the agent were upfront about the lack of approved plans, it still put the entire deal in jeopardy. It just goes to show how something seemingly minor can have major consequences down the line.
It really does.
So being proactive and securing those plans early on can really save a lot of stress and potential complications.
Oh, absolutely.
So now, let's say you're in a situation where the seller just doesn't have approved plans. What then? I mean, we touched on Cameron's suggestion of asking the seller about their preferred conveyancing attorney, but are there any other strategies that he recommends?
Well, he encourages thinking outside the box and really leveraging relationships. He points out that building strong connections with other professionals in the industry, like conveyancers, it can really pay off in situations like this.
So it's all about building a network of reliable partners who can help you navigate those tricky situations.
Exactly.
Now, shifting gears a bit, Cameron also reminded us to be aware of how utilities are billed in sectional title complexes.
Oh, that's a good point. Things can vary quite a bit from complex to complex.
Right, like is the water billed separately or included in the levies? Is electricity prepaid or postpaid? These are the kinds of details that buyers will want to know. He even went a step further and talked about the different ways that electricity can be billed. He mentioned that it could be included in the levy statement, billed directly by the municipality, or even supplied directly by ESCOM.
Huh, interesting.
And here's where it gets really interesting. He pointed out that electricity supplied directly by ESCOM, it can sometimes be cheaper, and it might even be on a different load shedding schedule.
Wow, that's valuable information, especially in areas that are prone to load shedding. And, buyers are definitely going to be interested in those details.
It highlights the importance of understanding the nuances of your specific market and being able to provide insights that other agents might miss.
It really does.
It's about going beyond that surface level and becoming a true expert in your field.
Absolutely.
And remember, all of this detailed knowledge, it ties back into that core concept of efficiency. By being prepared and having a thorough understanding of how things work, you can provide a smoother, more professional experience for everyone involved. Cameron also shared another practical tip that I thought was really helpful. He suggested creating separate property folders for each listing and keeping them organized in your car, so you always have the information you need at your fingertips.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, he emphasized that it's not about making tons of copies of everything. It's just about having a central, organized location for key documents. This way you're never scrambling to find information when a buyer asks us a question.
Right.
It's those little touches that reinforce that image of professionalism and preparedness that we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
And finally, Cameron reminded us about the importance of protecting our clients' privacy. He stressed the need to always redact sensitive information from any documents we share, especially levy statements that might contain details about the homeowner's financial situation.
That's an important point.
Yeah, it's a simple but crucial step that shows respect for your clients and protects them from potential issues.
It really does.
It's those ethical considerations that really elevate your service and set you apart as a responsible and trustworthy professional.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. Cameron's insights have really highlighted the importance of not just having the right documents, but also understanding them thoroughly and using that knowledge to really provide exceptional service.
I agree. His real-world examples and practical tips have given us so much to think about.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Cameron Jansen's masterclass on real estate efficiency. We've really covered a lot of ground here, haven't we?
We have.
From those essential pre-listing documents to understanding those financials and even building those relationships with those key partners.
Yeah, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all this information, don't worry. That's totally normal. Cameron really threw a lot our way, but that's why we're here. We're here to break it all down and help you apply these insights, to your own business.
Exactly. So let's connect the dots. What does all of this mean for you as a real estate professional, striving for that true efficiency?
Well, Cameron's message is crystal clear. Efficiency. It isn't about rushing. It's about having those systems in place. The systems that let you move smoothly and swiftly, anticipating needs, minimizing that back and forth, all that back and forth that can really bog down a deal.
Yeah, remember that anecdote about losing the buyer because of that 4-hour delay?
Oh, yeah.
Ouch.
That was a tough one.
It emphasizes the need to be prepared.
Absolutely.
And that's why having those key documents ready to go is so crucial. Those levy statements, the rates and taxes bills, complex rules, financials, the whole shebang.
Yeah, and don't forget those physical property folders right in your car. I know it seems old school, but it's a brilliant way to ensure that you're always prepared, even in our digital world.
It really is.
But Cameron goes beyond just having those documents. He really stresses the importance of understanding them thoroughly. It's not enough to just have a levy statement. You need to know what those monthly fees cover and be able to explain it clearly to your clients,
Right. It all comes back to transparency and building that trust. Buyers are asking a lot more detailed questions these days, and if you can't answer them confidently, you really do risk losing credibility.
You do.
Think back to that example of the rates and taxes bill. It's not always as straightforward as it seems. Being able to break down those figures and ensure that transparency, it really sets you apart as a professional who knows their stuff.
It does.
Cameron also encourages us to be those proactive problem solvers. Remember that tip about asking the sellers for their preferred conveyancing attorney?
Oh, yeah.
Such a simple yet clever way to potentially save time and hassle. especially if you need to obtain those building plans.
Absolutely. It's all about going the extra mile for your clients and showing them that you're really invested in their success.
Another key takeaway for me was the importance of understanding those nuances, the nuances of your specific market, like Cameron's example of those different ways that electricity can be billed, and the potential impact of those load-shedding schedules. That really stood out to me. These are the kinds of details that really matter to buyers and can make a real difference in their decision-making.
Absolutely. It's about becoming a student of your market, staying informed about those hyperlocal details, and using that knowledge to provide valuable insights that other agents might miss.
Right. It elevates you from just a salesperson to a trusted advisor,
Yeah,
someone who clients can really rely on for accurate and insightful information.
exactly.
And finally, Cameron reminds us that efficiency, it's also about organization and attention to detail. Creating those separate property folders, redacting that sensitive information, having a system for handling all those documents.
Yeah.
These are the hallmarks of a true professional, someone who respects their client's time and privacy.
Absolutely. It's about ensuring a smooth and seamless experience for everyone involved, from the initial consultation to the final closing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's time to ask yourself, what's your biggest takeaway from all of Cameron's wisdom here? What systems or strategies can you implement to really become a master of efficiency in your own real estate business?
Yeah, maybe it's time to create that personalized checklist of essential documents. Or finally embrace those physical property folders in your car. Whatever it is, challenge yourself to take action and build a system that really works for you.
Efficiency isn't a destination, it's that journey of continuous improvement. And the rewards, both for you and your clients, are well worth the effort.
I agree.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of real estate efficiency. We're always here to help you navigate the complexities of any topic, so feel free to send us your questions or share your own insights. Until next time, happy deal making.